Thanks for joining us this morning. We were working out a few technical difficulties behind the scenes, but we are ready to get going now. I see a few of you are still logging in, so thank you for joining us for the National Aging in Place Council's Professional Development Series for March. This is something that we're doing now every month, this program. We had one on member clicks and how to use all the resources. We've done one on how to prepare how to purchase a franchise. We're working on one, how to prepare your business for a franchise. So I'm really excited to have our presentation today, understanding a review of senior living options. I think it's something that has been highlighted over the last year, that a lot of people really don't know what all of the options are out there when it comes to senior living. So I'm really excited to have our guests joining us today. And also for those of you who are members, this very presentation will be available to you in member clicks, along with detailed notes that you can use later for yourself, for your chapter, or your own personal use. So you can just pop out their information and pop yours in, and you have a presentation ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get started today. We have two fantastic presenters. Julia Yule is part of our San Diego chapter. She is also the membership chair there. And Julia is a realtor with Realtor One Group San Diego and has been practicing for over 18 years. She's also a senior real estate specialist with over 90% of her business coming from seniors. Julia is heavily involved with local seniors and special needs community in San Diego, and spends her time advocating for individuals and families, working on adult programs and an independent apartment community. So really happy to have Julia here with us this morning. And we also have Annette Fields, who is joining us from Georgia. So we have California and Georgia represented in the house today. So thank you, Annette, for joining us. Annette is the executive director at Vineyards Johns Creek in Johns Creek, Georgia. And Jennifer, who I see is on the call right now, works with her as well and is part of our Atlanta chapter. So thank you, Jennifer, connecting us with Annette. Annette is passionate about senior living, and her 10 years of experience includes 7 years as an executive director. She is nationally certified as a director of assisted living and has experience in both social services and education. Annette is dedicated to creating a collaborative atmosphere within which residents, staff, and family will thrive and have a sense of belonging and purpose. So thank you both ladies for joining us. I know we have a full presentation and we will save questions for the end. You can put them in the chat box. If you'd also like to put your information in there, say hi, where you're from, if you're part of our chapter, and I will turn it over to Julia, who is going to get us started. So thank you, Julia.
Thank you. It's very, very exciting to be here. So let's hope that this works out the way we thought it was going to work out right here. Okay. Do you just see one screen here?
Yes, I see the screen that shows all your files.
See, and I don't see any of that. I just see the one piece. So one moment, please.
Sure.
I'm going to try again. How about that? Yes? Yay. Alrighty. So I'm super excited to be here today. I think that the NAIPC is an amazing organization. We have such an opportunity to collaborate, synergize, share resources, and be an amazing force for our seniors. I do live in San Diego, California, and I do want to acknowledge that some things that I might suggest or say may pertain particularly to Southern California, but I also know that a lot of what is going on with our seniors has happened organically, and if anyone wants to reach out at a later time to discuss any of this, please feel free. So first and foremost, we know the National Aging in Place Council was really grounded in recognizing that most seniors want to stay in their home as long as they can. And so you know, in general, I like to say home is where the heart is, but right now I'm going to say home is usually where someone has been for many years. And here in San Diego, we talk about having an assessment done as soon as someone is really comfortable. And I'm going to say that an assessment is really good even at the age of 50. I can tell you that my parents didn't want grab bars in because they thought balance bars because they thought they were ugly. They thought they were old, but that is just not the case. They're good for everybody, and avoiding a fall at any age is a really great thing. So we talk about being safe in your home and modifications. If you are a member of NAIPC, you have access all the time to this Act 3, your plan for aging in place. I use this for all of my clients in bits and pieces because it is many pages. But in-home assessment is the first thing to, quote unquote, to be done. And it's usually little things that make a huge, huge difference. I will tell you that when there is dementia, any type of little bit of ailment, you know, we've got caregivers coming in. The things that we can do in our homes that are so different is sometimes bringing in a roommate that is a companion, because loneliness is real, and we've seen that with COVID and what a big difference that makes. So there are many things right now that we're doing as a realtor. I've just helped with people that are reaching out because they appreciate and they like the senior community. And there's some people that cannot afford rent in our area. So it's a win-win scenario. That's a big deal right now. The other thing that is happening is that a family is adopting a senior. And sometimes that means a senior moves into someone's home, but more often than not, what that means is a senior has a larger home, let's say a 3 or 4 bedroom home. We've already got them downstairs, but there's maybe a family of 3 or 4 and they move in. It's an advantage because that house is usually paid off. And they, again, are challenged by the real estate prices, rental prices in our area. And so they come in and they're able to be very helpful. I say this all with caution and concern because especially people that can afford in-home health care companions, it's really, really great. In our area, if that's 24/7, we're kind of looking at about 16 grand a month. And there's not very many people that can truly afford that price tag. So if there are people that can come in and it is a win-win situation, then it is absolutely tremendous. I've helped a few people do this. Yes, I consult with attorneys and people in the family and you know, we try to cover ourselves on all sides. But I will tell you, there is a huge, huge need for help with seniors in their home. And if they want to stay in their home, we do need to get a little bit creative because there are lots and lots of options moving forward, but they are more costly. And I know that Annette will jump into all of those. Before Annette kind of takes over the call, I do want to say that can you see my pointer here? Yes? Okay, great. So in each one of the pillars of NAIPC, you know, we start kind of with housing, we go to healthcare, finance, transportation, and then community. So what is you know, part and parcel to this is the healthcare piece and financial resources. What I find very, very helpful is that I'm coming into the home and there is another person or family member, and we could talk about these two things almost before we talk about housing. It's helpful because it really does help steer where we're going to go from there. In San Diego right now, elder law is growing by leaps and bounds. Every elder law attorney that I know has many, many, many cases, and probably would be an excellent addition to our particular chapter. But I say that because of the unfortunate abuse that is happening right now with our seniors, and it's happening even more because of the isolation that started at the beginning of the year last year. And I know we probably will have a lot of questions and there will be a lot of synergy later. So I think that it would be great if maybe Annette takes over and then we can open some mics.
Thank you, Joy, and I can't wait to talk to you later about some of the programs like the, I think Joy.
Annette,
Yeah.
excuse me, you're I don't know, your voice is distorted.
Can you hear me better now?
Mm-mm.
I don't know what, because I don't have any headphones or anything.
That's the one thing we did not test before we started.
Well, because it didn't talk funny earlier, did it?
No.
Maybe you need to put on your audio again.
I'm not sure.
Let me try to mute you, Annette, and then I'll unmute. Let's see if that. All right, if you'll try to unmute yourself, let's see if that triggers it.
Better?
No.
No, it wasn't.
If you want to come here and see what you can find.
Should maybe you should exit out, Annette, and then get back on. What do you think? Maybe
That might be a good idea. Yeah.
that's happened to me actually, and we're our ass.
Hey.
Yes. Didn't think I was going to be able to get back on.
You
So
did it.
well, now all the work on getting my lighting just right is out the window, but that's okay. You can hear me. But thank you. It's so good to be here. I appreciate Tara inviting me to this, and Julia, thank you so much. But I will, can y'all see my screen? Okay, let me get to, and some of the things that, let's see. Okay, so that may be better. Julia talked some about living at home and different resources for there. So I'm going to kind of go on a little bit past that. Active adult communities. Julia, I don't know if you still want to talk a little bit more about that. That's more home. Active adult is kind of a regular home or apartment, but there's, of course, the age restrictions. So there's a lot of things to think about that. The benefits is not much home maintenance, but then you have some age restrictions, which in some ways there's some pros to that, but other ways there's not. But one thing that, of course, I'm assisted living, so one thing that's very important that I consider is there's no health services. So there's no assistance. So it's kind of like a regular home or apartment, except it's just 55 plus. The next part of it is independent living, which is again kind of a apartment, or some places have cottages. Again, it's more people in your age group. I think more so than living at home, there are some services there. Meals are included. There's usually a dining room that everybody goes together. There's activities, there's support services. A lot of them may have 24/7, somebody there 24/7 for at least emergencies and security. I think it's important that it's, again, the socialization and staying active because they have so many engaging activities. Again, though, there's not that assistance if you need help with bathing, grooming, things such as that. So it is a little bit less expensive for those reasons. Some independent living communities are allowing you to stay there while they add assistance, which is in a lot of ways is good. But the other way to look at that is for those who are still independent, is that kind of taking away the independent living atmosphere. So again, just different ways to look at it. It's benefits, but so again, I think some of the biggest things if somebody is looking for senior living option is balance, but also know what's important to you. Which of those things, kind of review the things that are important to you. The socialization, the needing the care, but then also continue not look at not only your budget right now, but your budget, know what the highest cost may be 5 years from now, and kind of you have to look into the future and budget for that also, what it might be. You can only do that so much. But those are the things to think about for independent. Then we move on to assisted living memory care. Assisted living is still almost the same type environment as an independent living. It's usually private apartments. You have that dining room, or as a lot of assisted livings are doing like we are doing, we'll have a restaurant in our assisted living. So we'll have an executive chef to run that restaurant, and meals, you can go in there anytime between either 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. or 7 a to 7 p. We'll let our residents kind of gauge some of that. So it gives them more flexibility and choices and independence, more so than what the normal assisted living is of breakfast is 8 to 9:30, lunch is 12 to 1:30, and dinner is 5 to 6:30. That's not it. I would always get complaints about, well, I'm not hungry then, so what do I do? So that restaurant concept is a newer thing that's very nice. Again, you have engaging activities. So that socialization aspect. What is different with assisted living is that you have assistance with what we refer to as ADLs, or activities of daily living. Most of the time that's referring to bathing, grooming, if they can't reach behind them to, tie something or down to their shoes, those types of things. You have a maintenance person there, so the routine maintenance is taken care of. Then you also have a nurse on staff, not 24/7, but there is a nurse there that is required to do an assessment of each resident before they come in, and then also on a quarterly basis to see what activities of daily living they do or don't need help with. A lot of times we refer to that something called change in condition. If a month after the nurse just did an assessment, if they are either declining and need more assistance, or actually have been working with their therapist and are improving and need less assistance, she has to change their care plan accordingly. Just having that nurse on staff, and how you are required by the state to have so many caregiving staff per your number of residents, and those caregivers seeing those staff on a regular basis, the maintenance, the housekeeping, somebody seeing them all the time or noticing, you know, Miss So-and-so used to have an impeccable room, but the housekeeper is now noticing that, you know, things are not picked up like they used to. Those types of things are what kind of triggers us to see that there is a changing condition. So we can catch things earlier than if they were at home alone, because more eyes are on them. And then the earlier you catch something, the easier it is to kind of prevent it from decline. Another thing of independent living is not licensed by the state, at least not in Georgia. So you don't have those regular inspections and surveys to kind of keep an eye on. Assisted living is regulated by the state. And so you have a whole stack of regulations that you have to make sure you're adhering to and follow. But assisted living, a lot of people have the misconception that they're going into a nursing home and they're going to lose all their independence. It's really quite the opposite. It is not a nursing home. In fact, we are not allowed to provide any nursing care. It's all just assistance with those activities of daily living. And it really helps you keep your independence longer, because we're going to only assist in those things that you can't safely do yourselves, but we don't want to assist you with those things that you can. And in fact, the knowledge that you're going to have access to, because you have the activities director and the nurse on board and so many other residents, that we have a vast array of resources. So if you need help with, your walking or your speech, you need speech therapy, we're going to get that to you so you can improve and, again, keep that independence longer. I think a big thing that's really come full focus in COVID is the importance of socialization, and being creative to make sure we get that socialization. Technology now has become very big in the world of COVID, because sometimes that's been the only way to be connected with somebody and socialize. And I think if a lot of newer companies and communities are having that, we're very proud to say that we're going to have a lot of smart technology that, we were planning to have anyway before COVID, but even down to tablets that the residents, if they choose, can have tablets that will have games, and they can talk to their families and share things with their families, and choose the activities they want to go to that day or see the menu. We'll also have the staff directory on there that they can look at their friend's photo and touch it and be calling them to see what time are they going to the restaurant. So those are a lot of the big things of assisted living. Memory care is just a separate neighborhood in assisted living. Not all places have them, but that's if they're cognitively a little bit more declined, or dementia, Alzheimer's, that they just need extra attention. Most of the time it's if they're wandering a lot or they're not safe and just need that extra attention. That is different also, because the doors are locked. Not to say they don't ever come out, it's just they can't come out on their own because of that wandering tendency and safety issue. But the staff have even more training specifically for dementia. The activities and even the dining is specialized for those with dementia and memory issues. And then skilled nursing and extended stay. Skilled nursing is that's more, you may go there if you've had an injury and it be temporary. That's more for post-injury rehab. Skilled nursing is more medical. And just to kind of go back to assisted living again, a lot of assisted livings will say that you can go there and age in place. I just always encourage everybody to ask more questions about that, because all assisted livings are under state regulations. And even though we would love for our residents to stay with us for, until they pass, sometimes according to the state regs, they are not allowed to stay until they pass. So if they're, for example, if they cannot participate in transfers, if they're not ambulatory, so that they may be able to age in place in an assisted living, but I always say, ask at what point would my loved one, or at what point would I have to leave there and find another place, just to be sure you're aware of everything. So skilled nursing is more for the medical care, ongoing medical care. And then continued care retirement communities, they're now being referred to more as life care or modified care. The pricing is different for those. So I would always just, no matter where you go, find out about all different pricing and even assisted living. Not only can you afford it at this moment, but how, that's where I was referring, you may have different levels of care depending on how much assistance you need. So make sure you know how much that highest level of care is in assisted living to plan for that, because you're usually going to decline as you age. Continued care can be anywhere from independent living to assisted living to memory care, and then you have that skilled nursing on the campus too. So kind of the idea of that is that you move there and you don't have to leave. You may have to move from one apartment or area to the other, but they provide all those services. Things to consider, and Julia may talk about this also. When is it time to move? I always, especially when you're talking about assisted living, move when you can make that choice, or at least start looking at those options. Don't wait till there's an emergency and somebody else is going to make that choice for you. Go ahead and start looking before you need it. Find a place.
Usually 2 years before the decision is made. Yeah.
What's that?
Usually a couple of years before the decision is actually made.
Yes, absolutely. Because if you've just had your third fall in your home alone and you go to the hospital and they're saying you cannot come back home, that's not when you want somebody else finding your home for you. You want to make that decision when you can go out and look at them all and figure out what's important to you, and before you have those falls. Because in assisted living, we're going to help you be as strong as you can be and as independent as you can be. And even in moving into an independent living as opposed to staying at home alone, you may not need that assistance, but at least there'll be people around you to say, hey, you don't seem to be yourself. Why don't you think we need to go see the doctor or anything like that? They'll help you with those things, with transportation too. What services are covered by insurance? Assisted living and independent living, they're private pay. So you have to look at other options. Some options that I'm aware, long-term care insurance, Medicaid and Medicare may pay for services you receive at some of those places, like home health services or things like that, but they don't pay for the rent charges or the level of care charges. Selling your assets to get that money, your retirement money. Veterans aid and attendance is, if you're a veteran, there's certain requirements for that too, but finding the right person to apply for those benefits who knows about it to get it. That's where, when Julia talked about an elder law attorney, those services are wonderful because they have the knowledge you need to navigate some of these resources. Should I use a placement service or look on my own? Assisted living, the companies don't always like placement services because we have to pay them. But they're actually, if I was the individual, I would get a local placement service, not a national one. Don't listen to I think it's Joan London or somebody does the commercials, sorry if I'm bashing anybody, but a local replacement agency who they know that area. They have been in and out of those communities. They know the people in there, and a lot of them will even go with you to tour them and help you ask the right questions. I have a great last
Don't
week,
hire one if they don't go with you.
Exactly. But I, last week, a great example of that is last week, somebody called and mom was in the hospital getting ready to be discharged. She had to find a place for her. Unfortunately, we're not open. So just I asked her a few questions to kind of see what they needed. Call, and I said, no, do not call that national local, placement agency. And she said she already had, and they weren't able to help. But I said, I know, some people. So I said, if you're okay with it, I'll call them. I called 3 different agencies that I knew of. One of them did answer, told her the situation. She said, I know 2 places right now that could probably take her. So I got them in contact with each other, and I've got to just follow up. But that's the thing, knowing those resources. So yes, I would use a local placement agency. The Act 3 planning guide, I don't know about that. So I'll let somebody else talk about that.
So that's what I put up on the screen, and it can be accessed from our website. It's I think 26 pages, so I always recommend to take it in bite sizes, but it is actually a really wonderful piece to, I send it out email to clients and families and ask them to just take a look at it a little bit at a time. And sometimes I will bring in professionals from different domains to talk about a different, one of the areas. But this is actually when Terry was speaking about how we do basically a presentation with one person, that we use it based on Act 3.
Another thing I would just recommend too, even if you're going to use a placement service, do your research ahead of time. There's so much helpful information on the internet. If you do, of course, you can get overwhelmed by all the information. But that National Placement Agency does have a lot of good, or a lot of the senior living agencies have checklists for, what questions to ask, what to look for. And then also, one thing I always want to put out there too is a lot of times the adult children are looking for their parents' next home, and they're looking a lot of times for what they would like. It's very important to know the future resident, what's important to them, where they're going to be comfortable. And most, including mine, so I'm not, it's a lot of assisted livings will talk about all their beautiful amenities, which we're going to have too. I can't wait to see them all in person. They are going to be beautiful. But what's more important is than all the beautiful furniture and amenities and furnishings is the care and the feel you get when you walk in that front door. Go there at different times, talk to different people, sit down and have a meal and talk to some of the other residents. When you walk in, are the staff engaging with the residents? Do you hear laughter? What kind of feel do you get when you walk through? Not how pretty it is. Sometimes some of the oldest communities I've ever been in where they really needed a redo, but they loved their residents. So it's really important to know the feel of the place, look at reviews. Of course, you have to look at those with a grain of salt sometimes too, but see what the feel is like.
That's great. Well, thank you for all the information that you're sharing. I want to open up the floor if anyone has any questions. I don't want to put anyone on the spot either, but I know that we might have a placement person on the line or someone who helps place people. So I won't put her on the spot, but if she wants to chime in, I'll let her. But I did see, Julia, you had a question when Annette was speaking about the range of costs for assisted living in Atlanta. Annette?
Yes.
Or Jennifer?
The range, it really is, a lot of it's like anything else, you're kind of getting what you pay for. I will say, any place you have what, any community, we always do what's called a competitive market analysis. So we're seeing what the other communities near us, what they have, what their pricing is, because we want to be close to what they have. So we want to have, what's that?
So I'm just doing a comparison because in Southern California, assisted living can be anywhere from about $5,000 to $12,000 a month. So what in your
I would say in our area, I would say probably around 3,000 to 7,000, depending on level of care, size of apartment,
obviously,
location, everything.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Go less or more than that, but I would say, and then memory care is more just because of the staffing requirements and the extra training and the extra services. But then also, again, look at when you're living at home, you think, oh, well, my rent's only this or my mortgage is only this month. But yes, but list all the other things you're paying for that are going to be included when you move to a community. So you have to kind of compare apples to apples. That's why it's so important to kind of know your budget ahead of time and plan, if you have a condition that you're going to get declined faster.
I would say 90% of the people walking in never know their budget. So we kind of just put it on the table right there, and then we help create from there.
And that's why it's good to connect them with the right resources to help them, figure out what their budget is and plan.
And
see what other resources we can find too.
Hi, this is Diane. I'm in Massachusetts. And I don't know if in other states, I do know in California and I do know in Georgia that there are PACE programs. So in Massachusetts, and I work for a PACE program in Massachusetts, we work very, very closely with the assisted livings, and we have contracts so that we can actually go in and provide the medical care that folks need, and they can actually stay in the assisted living a lot longer. And because the assisted livings are providing the level of care, the socialization, and you're providing certain services, we reimburse the assisted livings. There's a monthly reimbursement that we give to the assisted living for the care and services that they're providing, which allows people to actually stay in assisted livings a lot longer because their money lasts longer. We don't actually say that we're paying for a room and board, but we actually, the assisted livings are actually taking that reimbursement and deducting it from what they would be paying, so their funds last longer so that they can stay there. And the other comment that I have, and I'm not sure in other states, in Massachusetts, every city and town has a VSO, which is a veteran service coordinator, and they can actually fill out the paperwork for aid and attendance. I think elder attorneys are wonderful, and I'm not to take business away from them. I'm just putting it out there because some seniors have limited income and they cannot afford the rates for an elder attorney. So going to their local veterans service coordinator, they can help them fill out the paperwork, and it's at no cost for them. But great presentation, ladies. Thank you so much. I enjoyed hearing everything that you were talking about. You've shed some light on some subjects that I had. So thank you. You did a great job.
Thank you.
So Diane, you touched on something that's really important because everyone has a challenge with the planning, what's going to happen when I need help. So you said, you help basically seniors be able to stretch and stay in those communities a little bit longer. When their money is dwindling in Massachusetts, where do these people go?
So some of the assisted living communities that we're working with, I'm actually working with one right now where the funds are actually gone. So they actually have PACE rooms. So there's in the community, they will have maybe 4 rooms that are shared. And those are just for residents living in the community that are on a PACE program. So both of the residents have very limited funds. So their Social Security is now taken less from them. That goes to the assisted living. They're allowed $7 a month for maybe getting their hair done or saving for something. But that's when we step in with the veterans, because a lot of times it may be a woman who's a widow. Her spouse was a veteran, so she's entitled to the aid and attendance. There is also different state funding that they can apply for. So the communities may not be getting their full amount. Some of our communities are getting $5,000 to $7,000. So now maybe they're getting $4,000, but it's a shared room. So for that one room, they may be getting $8,000 for that one room. And they allow those residents to continue living until they do pass. So with the PACE program, PACE pays for any of their medicines, durable medical equipment, incontinence supplies, over the counter. For most folks, they meet the financial criteria, so there's no co-payments. Our doctors right now, because of COVID, are actually going into the community and doing their medical, taking care of their medical needs. We have OTPT going in and offering that. We actually have, all of our staff, our social workers are going in and giving them some guidance, because right now, being with the isolation, there's a lot of depression that's going on. So our social workers are going in and working through that. So it's been a win-win situation for us, working with the assisted living communities and with PACE. We've been able to collaborate and partnership and just really giving that level of care that's needed for the residents. And they're still getting amazing care from the assisted living community. So it's been a win-win for us.
Thank you.
And Annette, I would like to thank you for bringing up the national placement places, because it always is a challenge dealing with them and with the local. But lots of times you had said that people can go on the national companies' websites and gather information, but the national companies are also gathering their information, and it makes it really difficult for the local placement people to be able to really help the people that need the help. So as all of us working in the senior industry can work with our clients earlier to make sure that they are getting the correct information and not just given a list to go run around on their own and have people that work with them. So thank you very much for recognizing that as an assisted living community. It helps us out a lot.
Oh, well,
But-
you are very welcome, because that's probably what we refer to people the most right now before we're open is the different local placement agencies. So I appreciate you guys and all you do helping them.
And somebody else was talking about the money, and sometimes, even though I love the assisted living communities, sometimes the homes do end up being the better price because you can't get the shared rooms and things of that sort. But having somebody that is familiar with the area can make sure that the seniors and their loved ones are properly educated. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad you said homes. I meant to also mention, besides assisted living, there's also what's referred to in Georgia as personal care homes, which are very similar. They used to all be the same thing several years ago. There's just certain things that the local placement agencies are aware. In fact, that's what the agency said she thought of the other day. Sometimes the smaller personal care homes can meet the needs of some of the residents better than we can.
That's great. That was the placement person that I didn't want to put on the spot that I thought would have something to say. So thank you, Carolyn. She's also the chapter leader here in Orange County. So glad you could join us. Does anyone else have anything to add before we shut it down? I'll tell you some of our upcoming events before I close. We have a lot of actually really exciting events. Tomorrow is our Orange County meeting. If anyone wants to come, we're talking about brain training and how to keep your brain active as you age. So that should be a good one. It will be interactive. So be prepared at 9 o'clock in the morning, California time, to use your brain. Then on the 24th, we have a big presentation that is open to your seniors. It's open to your network, to families, with author Carol Merrick. It's about building a strong support system when aging alone. So that's going to be a fantastic presentation. On the 30th, we will be doing the next round of the Hidden Gems of Aging. I'm kind of calling this, it was by accident, but it's kind of a housing edition. We're going to talk about a product. It's brand new on the market. It's from Denmark, and the US distributor just contacted me yesterday to kind of start spreading the word. So it's a product that helps seniors when they fall. And the caregiver, which could be the elderly wife, you roll the person on and it's battery operated and it sits them up like they're in a chair, or there's a crankshaft that a child could turn. It's so easy. So it's going to help all these people once they fall to get up, and probably save some caregivers some accidents as well. So he'll be presenting his product. We're going to be talking with a company in Denver who does co-housing shared agreements with seniors and professionals and students, which I think will be great. They're also starting a chapter in Denver, so that's exciting. Reverse mortgages for purchase. A lot of people know about reverse mortgages, but they don't know you can actually use it to purchase a home. So we'll be sharing that information. And then also a guy down in San Diego who invented a removable toilet bowl where you can pull the toilet from the stand, take it to the bed, let the patient use it, put it back on the regular toilet and flush it like normal, and easy peasy. So I think that's going to be a product that changes things up. So that's kind of what we're using the Hidden Gems of Aging program for, these little not known or unknown products and services that are really going to be changing the future of aging. So it's very exciting. Our next virtual networking event will be next month, April 14th, with the Chicago chapter is featured. And then I don't even think Jessica has it on the books yet, but our presentation in April 20th, will be an author talking about the gifts of dementia. And she is going to be kind of addressing things not from a medical standpoint, but from the heart. And it's going to be a really great presentation that will also be open to the general public, seniors and families as well. So it was so great to see everyone today. I hope you can participate in some of our upcoming events, and Hopefully I'll see some of you, at least Carolyn, at the meeting tomorrow in Orange County. So thank you, everyone. See you next time.
Bye. Thank